One Question is brought to you by Turnkey Search, a top industry search firm since 1996. So where did you spend your time in preparation? So you're internal, you have a good grasp of maybe the inner workings of the place, but you're going hard after this, so you want to make sure every angle is covered. Was there specific aspects of how the university was run or the landscape of college athletics and how Cal State Bakersfield fit within that picture? Where did you spend a lot of time in your preparation work?
You know, I spent a lot of time in compliance because that was the one area that I had not had as much experience in. So I made sure that I knew the terminology, that I knew as much as possible, because I had a feeling that might come up because, you know, if I'm interviewing someone for a job, automatically you want to see where do they lack experience and stuff like that. So I spent more time with our associate AD for compliance than anyone else during that time. My other preparation was just being able to give examples, not talk about my philosophies, not talk about all that, is actually be able to say, here's what's happened over the last 13 months, or here's what happened in my role at Memphis. We went from this dollar amount to this dollar amount. I focused on making sure that I knew the exact ways to quantify any success that I had prior to interviewing for the athletics director job.
In reflection now, did you waste any time? Were there areas that you spent a lot of time preparing yourself or researching that you did not end up needing?
Yeah, absolutely. Compliance. I don't even know that I don't even know that I got a question besides, you know, talking about my commitment to they knew that I was someone that is going to be truthful and follow the rules. And quite frankly, that question never came up. The one that I was most concerned about just never came up.
Yeah, I think I've asked Ren Baker before, he was going after the North Texas job and he was the interim at Missouri at the time. How did you prepare? How did you, more so, you know, he said, I went and got on site a day ahead of time so I could just kind of have this quiet time. And I know you have some kids, Ren has some kids. You kind of just get out of the house, close the hotel door, and get square with your thoughts on how you want to present your case and all the research that you've done. That 24-hour period leading up to your interview, do you remember how you prepped for that?
I do. It's very similar to Ren. You know, I blocked out all distractions and tried to make sure that my focus was on that interview because, you know, as an athletics director, you have stuff that comes up every day. You're putting out some fires. And I did have some of that. And I basically had to leave the office and just find a quiet spot. I think I went to a Starbucks and made sure that my focus was on that interview. I actually had someone tell me late that same day before I was interviewing that they were considering another job, and I just basically told them, hey, you're good, I'll get you taken care of, but let's talk about it in a week. So very similar to Ren, I found my quiet spot. I have a couple of people that I consider mentors that I spoke to about just a couple of items, and I made sure I was fresh. I worked out, I ate well, and I need to do a little bit more of that actually.
So for folks who are listening to this, Ziggy, who might be at the associate AD level or senior associate AD level and a year to a couple of years away from having an opportunity to interview to become an AD, how would you recommend to them to prepare for that opportunity, like walking into the room and sitting down with that search committee, but also maybe thinking today about how to keep a real strong profile of themselves so that they can promote what they've done?
Yeah, I think the key is, yes, researching the individuals who are the decision makers, because ultimately, you know, anyone who doesn't get the job, it seems like it's always said, hey, you weren't the right fit. Well, doing everything possible to understand what those individuals want, and then also making sure you're looking at every angle as to how to prepare. For instance, you know, something like a Skype interview. I was practicing with one of my family members who's actually a recruiter several times before I actually did that interview. And I also came prepared with a lot of documents, but I didn't just throw them out in front of people. I used it as a way when someone asked me a question that I could show a booklet that I put together, and then I would use it. If not, if that question didn't come up, I wouldn't just throw a bunch of stuff in front of them. So I would just say be prepared for everything, but that doesn't mean that you have to use all those materials. And keep stuff updated. I mean, you want to know what your successes are, because I imagine with someone like Ren at North Texas, when that job became available, it's not like he had 2 months to prepare. He had to have that stuff kind of close to him to be able to pull out and know how to sell himself for that job.
You noted that you spent a lot of time prepping on the compliance front, but yet you didn't have to really talk about that at all in the interview process. But did it catch you up to speed in real quick fashion once you became AD and you had a much better grasp on that area of college athletics?
It did. I felt very confident that I could handle any compliance issue that came up. I felt like I had the right connections, the right knowledge, and it was something that was needed. I've learned so much in the last couple of years that just by being on the job, but some of the terminology and stuff like that is pretty critical, and staying up to date. I mean, this better than anyone, Matt, is that, staying up to date with the information, the legislation, all the happenings in college athletics is critical for what we do, because the last thing I want to do is be talking to my president or speaking to the media, and all of a sudden they ask me a question that's very well known in our area, and I don't have an answer for it. So I think you can probably look and see my click rate on D1 Ticker. I read it a lot, so just to stay up to date on everything.
And that's today's One Question, brought to you by Turnkey Search, a top industry search firm since 1996. One Question is designed to give D1 Ticker subscribers valuable insights on how executive leaders in college athletics think about key issues on their respective campuses, in their departments, or within their leagues and conferences. One Question is brought to you by Turnkey Search, a top industry search firm since 1996.